I don't know if I'm tall enough to do that. I need a stage behind. Oh, yeah. All right, I think we're at 7:30, everyone. So Amy's gonna let me give it a whirl today, and you guys can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down how I do at the end of it. So I think we start off with O Canada. Renee, can you start us off?
Our home and native land, true patriot love, in all hearts was common. With glowing hearts we see, because the true are strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
All right, before Joel get Joel up here.
Are you still
Yeah.
standing?
I've been here before. So we're gonna start off with our toast. So first we toast Canada and toast the Queen. And Rotary International. And Amy, can you thanks to the land acknowledgement?
Of course, as we gather together today, we acknowledge that we are standing upon the grounds that is the traditional territory of the Mississaugas and Scugog Island First Nation. We acknowledge with gratitude that we have been allowed to live and prosper on these lands. We want to impart not only our recognition and respect for the Aboriginal peoples and the care they've provided, both in the past, present, and future. We want to commit that these are not just words to be said, but as people of action, we will continue to do what we can to protect the beautiful land we call home and thank the Aboriginal peoples for allowing us to inhabit this land.
Joel, can you come up and do our invitation?
This is a Rotary invitation, and it's actually for a district conference, but it's caught my eye. But I'm just going to adapt it for a meeting, for a club meeting. There is power in numbers. The energy vibrating in this room ensures we're unencumbered when we presume to change the world. Look around. We've gathered in this place to celebrate, to be established. If we could, the good that can be traced to Rotarians in each part of our town. Let's be thankful for this. Let us be grateful as we break down dissension and fear. Let us be thankful, Rotarians, to be here.
I love that. I want to see all my tiptoes on like the tippiest tip. Birthdays and anniversaries.
Thank you, Acting President Rachel.
Thank you, Pauline.
We have no birthdays, and these are the celebrations till the end of the month, because you will remember there's no more meetings here, and next week's meeting is the Paul Harris Fellow Night on Wednesday night. So no birthdays. Anniversaries. Dennis and Karen Bullio are celebrating 10 years of married bliss, and Mike and Pam Desroches are celebrating 44 years of married bliss. And Service Buxtel. Doug Sirs, thank you for 3 years of Service Buxtel.
Before Ted is Sergeant at Arms, I want to welcome our guests. We got a lot of members of the Curtis Club. Thank you. Nice seeing you guys at district conference. I don't think we have any guests online today. Ted, come on up for our, there you are. All right, get your wallets there.
Okay, this is a little bit of a history. Rotary has been involved with polio for a long time. Any idea how long?
1981.
Polio.
The mug is.
Oh, come on, I can't hear.
All my money? Yeah. What was the first project? How did it happen? What did they first do to get started?
Easter seals.
That's why I have taught me this. One of our Rotary activities. We've always that kids.
Yes, absolutely.
November 28th.
Nope. That's your back.
What organization is that involved into? Eastern Service Society for Crippled, well, Crippled Children was formed in 1930. And Casey was after the first group met. And in 81, we changed the name.
And Ted, you're like me, and you will remember meetings at Rotary where every year we used to stuff the envelopes for Easter seals.
Yes.
And that was usually about February because it was a big mail out.
March for the Easter seal.
Yeah.
And we used to have big long tables at Trinity Church, stuff.
Yeah.
They sent out about this for 6,000.
Reg is nodding too, he's also.
Yes. Okay. How did the special Christmas party, what was the first event? Time we had a Christmas, not time, but how did it start? We had a special Christmas party for kids, but how did it evolve? Any ideas?
Bonnie said, we're having a party.
Okay, it was, started off with, according to Paul Morris, the father, daughter, father and son Christmas party, and then they invited all the Christmas Easter Seals kids to it. And then it evolved. It did not start with respite. Respite was afterwards. The respite kids were because of the Privacy Act. Our involvement in Easter Seals dropped right off because of the Privacy Act. We had trouble getting names to mail out for a year or two. We had to use old lists.
Oh, well.
Anyways.
I did.
Okay.
Good job, Ted. So Renee, can I call you up to introduce Sharon, our speaker for the day?
Renee's fine behind the podium.
I know. Diana needs to wear heels.
It is my pleasure, my great pleasure, to introduce the speaker this morning, Shannon Levine. I met Shannon about 4 years ago during a district conference in Wellington, Ontario. I attended her session where she talked about the stigma and effects of mental health. Shannon is a beacon of light and an advocate on mental health and wellness and leads by example. That is truly monumental. Shannon is a member of the Rotary Club of Curtis, past president, a Paul Harris Fellow, and a motivational speaker. Please give a warm welcome to Shannon Levine.
Do I need to stand there or can I stand?
Wherever you
stand,
want.
wherever
The
you
camera can see you in
Floor is
certain,
yours.
so if you look up on there, you'll be able to see if you're seen by the, so you might want to back up.
Here, you stand where you want, I'll move the camera to,
Even better.
That would be great, just because I wander a little bit. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it with it being Mental Health Awareness Month. It's important that we have these discussions. I thought what I would do is give you a little bit of information about my story so that you have an idea of what true to life mental health struggles are like. So, regular kid, regular family. I grew up with my mom and dad, my little sister, who, you know, when it was a regular thing, I didn't like her very much. And so that was absolutely normal. And when I was about 12 or 13 years old, I started hearing voices in my head. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And all of a sudden, all the regular things that I did, all the activities that I participated in, all of those kinds of things slowly went by the wayside because I couldn't hear what was going on over the voices that were so loud in my head. My mom and dad took me to our family doctor, and our family doctor took me into the room and said, okay, tell me about it, no problem. All right, now I'd like to talk to your mom. So if you'll go back out into the waiting room, I'll talk to your mom and we'll go from there. It ended up that he told my mom that it was teenage angst or that I was just making it up and looking for attention. I have to say right here and now for anyone who has met my mom and dad that they are absolutely amazing and fantastic people. And they never ever stepped away from me or from what was going on, right even from that moment. My mom asked for a referral to a specialist who told my mom that once again, I could sit in the waiting room. And my mom said, no, she's not sitting in the waiting room. If this is about her, then you can speak to her. And at that time, the doctor told my mom and I that he didn't think there was anything wrong, but that if there really was a problem at home and I was causing trouble at home, that they could put me into a mental institution called Ponoka. So Ponoka is in Alberta. That's where I lived at the time. And my mom said, absolutely not. And my mom and dad were behind me 100%. It took another 7 years before I found a doctor who would talk to me about the possibility of being mentally ill. And at the time, it was relatively new for him to prescribe mental health drugs, but he did. And it helped a little bit. By then, I was suffering from severe depression and anxiety. And my depression was forming into a bipolar. And so bipolar, for those of you who are not familiar with, it's an extreme, you don't take my picture. It's it's extreme mood swings. For me, it's from very, very low to very, very high in a very quick amount of time. And so I was struggling from that. And my family didn't know, like, what do we do here? How do we help her? And so we kept working on it and dealing with this doctor who was able to take the top off of it, but not be able to get into all the major problems. When I was 23, I got married. Oh my gosh, my kids were 24 and 25. If they got married at 23, I got a heart attack. But I was 23 when I got married, and that was in 1995. My husband knew that I struggled with mental illness, but honestly, I don't believe he had any idea how big this was going to be and what a major part of our life it was going to be. In 2001 in Calgary, I went into a hospital for 6 weeks. I had 2 little kids, 4 and 2. My husband spent 6 weeks trying to find daycare for kids because I was a stay-at-home mom. His parents came to visit, my parents came to visit because I went into the hospital and at the time, the hospital didn't accept visitors. So I spent 6 weeks away from my family and getting a diagnosis. The doctor told me that I had rapid cycling bipolar disorder and schizoaffective disorder. And so I ended up with this huge, what I felt at the time, label, because I wasn't very forgiving for myself. It was, oh my goodness, I have this, I've given this, to my family. Everyone has to deal with this. What are we going to do? Fast forward a few years, we moved all the way to Ontario. My husband was transferred with his job, and we moved here. And everything was fine for a while. I still had contact with my doctors in Calgary, and everything went well. Then things started to slow down and not go as well, and I had a breakdown. And my breakdown kept me in bed for 14 months. So I had 2 young children, and I was able to get up, get out of bed, make their lunches, get them to school, come home, go back to bed, get up, pick them up from school, come home, and hope that everything was going to be well, and that I would be able to just, sounds silly to say really, take it easy, because I had no power in me to be able to function at the level that I knew I needed to function at in order to help my family. My husband has been a guiding light for me because he has always stepped in. So for 26 years, he has known that this has been going on, and it has gotten progressively worse over those years. And he has stood up and said, okay, you know what? I'll do what I can to make things better. My kids have grown up with it, of course, and so they know nothing else. And that's a bonus, I think, because they're very well aware of signs and symptoms to look for in their friends. And they also know when mom needs some help and when mom is just fine. In 2018, I went into the hospital, Ontario Shores, which is my hospital of choice, I might say. I went into Ontario Shores for 6 weeks, and my older son, Sterling, would come every night during the week after work and have fries and gravy with me. And that's one of the things that I remember about my time at Ontario Shores, was that this is something that he did for me, and it was wonderful. And that's I think a symbol of the relationships that I have with my children. That's not to say my younger one doesn't do things. It's just that that's what I remember from Sterling. While I was at Ontario Shores, I underwent electroconvulsive therapy. For those of you who don't know what that is, ECT is a treatment that is long-standing. It's been around for a bazillion years. And what they do is they put you under anesthetic and attach electrodes to your brain, and they shock you in the hopes that it shocks your brain into functioning the way that you need it to do. I have underwent, I would guess, 150, would you agree? About 150 treatments of being put under anesthetic, gone through ECT, come out of anesthetic. ECT is very hard, but it worked very well for me for a long time. It really well. I came out of the hospital in 2018 with this vow that I was never going in the hospital again. Although the hospital is fantastic, don't get me wrong. But it was this sense, it's the sense of failure that you have for myself, and I will speak only for myself. This sense of failure that I'm not going to be at home with my kids, I'm not going to be home with my husband, I'm not going to be working, I'm not going to be with my friends, all because I can't handle my life. Now, since 2018, my attitude has changed greatly regarding this, and I have just decided that this is who I am, and the people who are in my life, who want to be in my life, will accept this the way that it is, because there's nothing I can do to change it. In 2021, after having another breakdown, I went back. We're talking in the height of COVID, and I was in the hospital for 9 weeks. I wasn't allowed to see my family for those 9 weeks. I wasn't allowed to see my friends. I wasn't allowed to have any visitors at all because we were under quarantine, and that was the safest thing for the patients in the hospital and the safest thing for the people. So what happened was I would have a window that I would be able to see out of, and my family and my friends, Marie Visser, would come and talk to me on the phone so that I could see them, and I would talk to them on the phone through the window because that's the closest that I could get to them. Lots of gift baskets and treats and those kinds of things came my way as well, thanks to Marie and her many of friends who all stepped up around me and helped me, and they helped my family and helped them get through these 9 weeks. I underwent ECT treatment throughout those 9 weeks that I was in the hospital. So I have been doing it since 2018 on and off, right through to I left the hospital in April of 2021. On June 23rd, I was having outpatient treatment. So I was going into the hospital and doing outpatient. My husband was waiting for me because with ECT, you can't drive. So of course, it only makes sense. You don't think about it when you're saying, yeah, let's do it. So you have to think about all the driving ramifications that come with it. So my husband was waiting for me, and while I was under anesthetic, I aspirated into my lungs and went into cardiac arrest. And the 911 had to be called and rushed me to Ajax Pickering Hospital. Scary moment for my husband sitting in the waiting room, seeing 911 or seeing the paramedics come in and rush into the hospital. And they said, yep, just follow us. So that's what we did, follow us to the hospital. But of course, when he followed me to the hospital, he couldn't come in, he couldn't do anything. And so he was left standing there not knowing exactly what was going on. It took about 2 days for me to be able to come to a position where I could phone him and find out or let him know exactly what was going on. And at that time, I missed my youngest son's birthday, which to me was a bigger deal than being in the hospital, was the fact that I missed his birthday the first time ever. I was absolutely devastated and swear the kid is going to luck out for the rest of his life because I have guilt about missing that one birthday. When this happened, my family decided, and when I say my family, lots of people were involved in the decision. Craig, my husband, Sterling, and Hayden. Marie was involved in the decision because she's part of my family. My parents, my in-laws, and to a small point, me, because I was so overwhelmed and shocked with what happened. I didn't have the ability to make grounded decisions. And we decided that I wasn't going to do ECT anymore. Go figure. Yeah, my kids especially were very much opposed to doing it again. And it worked a long time for me, but I'll tell you, the last round that I had in the hospital was not effective for me. I didn't feel well, And so it was okay to do that. So what do I do now? Well, I take 11 pills in the morning and 6 pills at night, and every third day I take ketamine by injection. So ketamine, my kids tease me, oh, Mom, you're doing a special day, and those kinds of things. But ketamine has been a game changer for me, and my friends and family would agree with asking. My husband gives me an injection every third day, and for an hour or so, I have to sit on a chair and just chill because it has hallucinogenic properties, which is very scary to me. But when we weigh out the benefits to the side effects, the ketamine is definitely a bonus. So I do that. I'll tell you the one thing I think that is the hardest for me, because I really believe that the stigma is starting to fade. I really believe that we have lots of people talking about it. We have lots of, unfortunately, it takes celebrities and that kind of thing to bring it out into the forefront to make it well known. But I've been talking about this for years and years and years, and people listen, and even if they only take a tiny little bit home with them, that's all I need. I'm okay with that. The worst problem for me though is memory. Through the electroconvulsive therapy, I've lost about 70% of my memory. So my children's life as small kids, unless I'm looking at a photograph, I have no memory of that. TV shows, which is a real bonus, I can watch the same show over and over again. Because I have no memory of that. My husband and I will be on a Friday night saying, what do you want to watch? No, watch this. Do you watch this? Yes, we watched it. Yes, we watched it. So needless to say, he tends to pick the shows because for me, everything is new. Do things blow up and there's lots of action? Yes. Okay, great. Let's watch that. But losing my memory is probably the scariest thing for me. That's probably the hardest. I have a nice life. I have a good life. I have a strong life. And to know that all of these things that I've written down so that I don't forget them, to realize that tomorrow I may not remember, is very disheartening. And there's nothing that can be done about this. The hope was that I would regain my memory. And when I started with ECT, I lost my memory, but I regained quite a bit of it. But this time it has been very good. Saying that, I would tell you that this is my best life. This is the life that was given to me, and this is the life that my parents allowed me to have without putting me somewhere where I may never have left, with always being able to be dependent upon, with having a husband that I have and the kids that I have. I'm living my best life. And I would challenge anyone who believes that someone with a mental illness cannot live their best life, doesn't know that. Because thankfully, there's places like Ontario, which have made a difference to me. I still go to Ontario Shores. I see a psychologist at Ontario Shores. I see a psychiatrist at Ontario Shores. They prescribe my medication. And I know that if I went into a free fall, I'd go back to Ontario Shores. So in May, at the end of May, I'll be walking because I don't run. If you see me running, you better run because someone's chasing me. I'm going to be walking for the Love You Run because the funds raised for the Love You Run for women's mental health will be donated to Ontario Shores. The run in our area. So the run is on June 25th. That's my son's birthday. I'm not going to miss it again this year. So I'm going to run it virtually or walk it virtually the week before. But yeah, I really, really believe that. So I think I spoke more than I should have. But does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
Congratulations on all the work you've done on yourself. and sharing your story. I heard you speak back in 2018. I wasn't aware, I guess you had had a breakdown before that. When you came to Trenton. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember? I don't know. You remember talking, because you say you remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, I have this memory of being in a room with a whole bunch of people, but it's very, very, and talking to Mary Lou. I mean, that's about it.
And one of the things I remember that really stood out for me then was you talked about, I don't know if this is still valid, but you talked about the time. You say you heard voices.
Yeah.
You talked about the voices that you were hearing and how
That's right.
negative they were and how that contributed to your feelings of, I don't know, bewilderment, or lack of self-esteem, or whatever. They were, and can you talk about that a little bit, those voices? And
Sure.
whether or not you're still up to date?
Yeah, you actually have to deal with them still. So
What were they
it's,
saying?
it's one voice, it's very negative. So the worst possible things you could think of being said, you're fat, you're ugly, you're never gonna make it, your family hates you.
And this was, you're hearing, actually hearing.
Yeah, and I still hear that. I mean, there's lots of other things, but those are things that are safe for work things to say. Yeah, so I have that all the time and have always had that for, well, I turned 50 last week, so 37 years. So I've had that. One of the things we did at that conference, if I'm not mistaken, is we did a workshop where
Yeah.
two people would talk to each other. So you would be face to face talking to each other, and one person would be talking in your ear, a bunch of negative, and how
It was horrible.
it is horrible, but it's effective, I think, because what it does is it shows you what it's like to not be able to hear what's going on around you and to be focusing on these negatives instead of just this nice conversation that you're having together. So that was one of the things that we did at that. And the reason that I remember that is that Mary Lou said that in my Paul Harris.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it really left an impression on me. So
Well, that's
congratulations on your work.
Thank you.
You are making a difference. And I'm glad you mentioned ketamine, because at our conference this weekend, we had a psychiatrist who has been dealing with her own eating disorders and was hospitalized for a long time. She's now using ketamine with some of the patients, and it helped her as well.
It's very, not, well, I don't want to say rare, but there's very few patients. I was the only one that my psychiatrist had on ketamine. And the two doctors that I'm going to be moving to, because my doctor moved to Mount Sinai to be an inpatient doctor, neither of them actually have patients on ketamine. There's very few patients in Ontario Shores that take it because it's hardcore drug, you know, it's not, it's just, it's sort of the, let's try this because nothing else.
Yeah, it's not so much a question, Shannon. I've always been aware of mental health, but being aware of it and knowing about it is totally different. Now, because of you, I have knowledge. Because the awareness is one thing, but the detail that you've given is incredible. I now have a totally different appreciation of it. So thank you for that.
Appreciate it. Knowledge is power, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
I just want to make a quick comment before I have to leave, and I don't want to leave. I promise I really don't want to leave, but children, they said they were a good idea to have. I have to do that. But as a child of my dad was a diabetic, totally different illness, but an illness nonetheless.
Absolutely.
I didn't realize that people didn't know what dialysis was. What 12-year-olds didn't know what dialysis was? How do they not know how to take blood pressures and blood sugars and, you know, and I can imagine your kids with the experience they've had, imagine how many people they maybe have been able to help because of the experiences that you have been so open with. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's, yeah, you're wonderful.
Well, thank you.
You're wonderful.
Thank you. Is there any other questions?
There might be some, anybody on law and
Yes.
Is there anyone on Zoom with a question? Okay, any final questions?
I have one. You obviously have had help and you've gone for help, and appreciated the fact. I had a friend who had similar problems and his family tried to get help with it. He was married, had children, got divorced, didn't want to have any of that anymore. And then he went and lived on the street. They tried to get him to the hospital and he stayed for a day or two and then he checked himself out and was back. And he never wanted to get the help, to take the help that was offered. How do you do something?
I honestly believe that if you don't have the will yourself, it's pretty hard. No, you can't force them. I mean, you can force someone into a hospital, but you can't force them to stay. It's like that. It's like that one moment. And I think that's where problem for me is that I didn't want to let my mom and dad down, that I wouldn't do whatever was necessary. And I didn't want my children to be raised. I wanted my children to be raised knowing that you do everything that is necessary to make your life better. And that if you don't try, you're not going to get. And so I couldn't lay on the couch and not do anything and have my kids be raised with maybe a mental health issue of their own, which I have one son who does, and not go and get care because, oh, well, mom didn't, so, what difference does it make? I don't need to. When someone really doesn't want the help, maybe there's an underlying issue. Maybe there's something more than the voices in their head of the extreme depression. Maybe it's a case of they're embarrassed and they need to be accepted. And I think that that's the key for us right now. Is we need to accept what's going on in our society. We need to accept that people struggle and that while you may not, that you need to accept what other people do. And I'm certainly not saying that you don't, because it sounds like people have done in this person's life as much as can be done. And really, that's what it comes down to. I wish I had a magic bullet that I could tell you, okay, do this. But once they decide I'm not interested, yeah, leave the options open to them all. Be able to say, the day you decide is the day you get in the car and the day you go. And we go to emergency inpatient treatment, and I will take you, no questions asked. All you have to do is phone me. All you have to do is come over. All you have to do is text me. All you have to do is do this. I will be there and I will help you. And I know for a fact that it gets done because, and I keep referring, Marie Visser has done it for me and has, stepped up when my husband was in the city or whatever and wasn't able to help me. She helped me. She took me to ECT treatments. Connor Visser took me to ECT treatments. My husband in Toronto. And those kinds of things are the things that you need to prove to people who are struggling that that's available for them. But it's a long journey, and hats off to you for standing by because lots and lots.
Shannon, I want to thank you. That's really helpful. I think I don't know anyone who doesn't know someone with some sort of mental illness. It touches all of us. Really does. And I love your shoes, and I finally got a pair of. So I just want to say,
You just got a pair of food on?
Yeah. Exciting. They do vegan.
They were on Facebook.
Yeah, they were.
Day on Sunday, so I had to go and buy.
Now, non-announcement, happy bucks, bucks time.
Okay. Only 5 happy bucks, not much more money
We'll
left
take it
after
from-
the weekend. I'm happy that the district conference went off really well. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The organization behind it was excellent. Having said that, it's now 15 months until my district conference. So I'm gonna have to form a committee to help me to create this conference. It's gonna need people in some ways who have specific skills, but also people who can just volunteer to help. So I'm gonna be knocking on all of your doors.
Funny how he keeps looking at Joe.
I'm going to be pleading with you to help me. And keep in mind, it's the district governor from your club, not from another club, from your club. So we need to push this and be proud of it. I'm proud of me.
So it's mandatory, basically.
You've been
Say that.
I've got a few here. First off, I'm happy that I'm here because I almost wasn't after a bike ride incident on Saturday. So that's good. I'm happy to be going away. I'm leaving for London this afternoon. I hope to, well, I'm going to be on the set of Ted Lasso, so that should be fun. Here's a happy buck and an announcement for Ribfest. A month ago, we were 3 months behind in planning, right? I think after the past 3 weeks or so, we're at least on par with where we have been in other years now. The teams really come together. Even sponsorships, I think my number alone, I'm at 40 some odd $1,000 worth of sponsorships we've pulled in. A big part of that is OPG. Thank you, Leah. But we've still got a ways to go. The two big things we need to knock down right now are volunteers, friends, family, high school kids, everyone. We're gonna have lots of volunteer spots to fill. Lisa and Rebecca are point people on volunteers. If you've got any sponsorship ideas or anyone that needs to be approached or you'd like to approach, reach out to Dave Sullivan. He'll get you the package to send and we'll get it. What I've found is it doesn't take much of a sales job, right? Just, hey, Ribfest is on again. We're back, baby. Okay, how can we help, right? And even if it's just 500 or $1,000, people are responding well. And it's going to be a hell of an event. So brace yourselves. It'll be a good time. That's me.
Well, too long. Wait a minute. I'm gonna I'm just very happy that my baby's here today, the Curtis Club. It's lovely to see you. And I'm very sad that you're not having breakfast.
I got some happy bucks because Sherry and I are leaving for Scotland tonight. Yay! So we're going to a family friend's daughter's wedding, so we're there for a week. So it'll be fun.
God's
Hello.
Of
course. Anyway, after 9 years, Jason proposed to Maria. So he married his bass boat and his skidoo on her. Anyway, he was very romantic, took her down to Montreal, penthouse, whole 9 yards. She didn't see it coming. And then she had foresight, so on Friday, Moose Hunt, I had to step out early at Thursday, down for the wedding, but I can go back on Saturday. And I had an incident a week ago. So anyway, glad to see you.
I love how you got the priority.
Well, you're settling in to sit down there for a while. Yeah, I just got 5 happy bucks here. And I want to echo what John talked about with the conference. If people want to help out, I was a part of the organizing committee. And it was a real honor and thrill to be able to actually interview some of the speakers we had. They were amazing. But the feeling that you get after helping the district come together and the inspiration that you draw from just being with other Rotarians and hopefully take away from some of the speakers there is really, really can't be as a Rotary peak Rotary experience It's part of, and it helps you, being served. It helps you in doing service above self. So getting a little time is unusual for me. Anyway, yeah, I just urge people to do that. And I just I'm happy because we got through it, and it was incredible to be able to talk to some of the people that we had there. They all left a mark, certainly on me. And I realize it's not about me, but I'm up here, so I guess it is. But anyway, some of the speakers we had were really impressive. And just being with Rotarians was great. I didn't get to do that much of that because I was running around making sure everybody got on stage. Anyway, it was great, and I hope to see you all. When we do. And if you haven't signed up yet, another Wasaga in October. That's Etobicoke's turn to do the district conference. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be an incredible setting. If you haven't thought about it, think about it. And
I agree with Joe. I was at the conference too. It was a fantastic event. And I hope that a lot of our club will participate in fall, whether it's the next conference or otherwise next spring. I have a happy buck I'm going to Thunder Bay to represent our club for the Matava Education Center. I'm leaving on June 8th, come back on June 10th, have Rib Fest for 1 or 2 days until 12, I guess it is. And then that night, I'm leaving for the Netherlands. And then I'll do a side trip. I don't know where yet. My sisters are organizing it. And sometime in July, I'll be back home.
Wow, this is really high. I'm gonna come over here. I'm so glad that Shannon is a part of our club. She's made our club. She's been our president for 2 years. It was enjoyable. It was fun. She was funny doing different things. She had a swear jar that she elevated after 2 years.
We're never gonna let the swear jar down.
Yeah, every time she swore, she'd throw money in, because she has that little habit, I guess. But anyway, Quickly Shores did well. Also, I would love to do volunteering again at Rib Fest. Make me feel better again for 2 years since nothing's been going on. Okay.
Okay, so a couple announcements. Marie, did you want to come up and talk about the euchre tournament? Or do you want me just to talk about it? You'll probably sell it better than I will.
So, a lot of you know that for a lot of years, we did a charity euchre tournament through the Rotary Club of Curtis. We used to donate to the Grandview Children's Center quite frequently. This year, we're actually able to have it back. We're doing it on Sunday, May the 29th at the Bulldog Pub Bar and Grill. We have they're going to shut down the restaurant for the day. So we have 64 spots. I believe that there's about 22 sold at this point in time. It's $30, 15 of which goes right away to charitable ventures. The other 15 covers your food and your prizes. And there are cash prizes for first, second, and third place, most lone hands for men and women. And the meal will be a pasta. There's a salad and garlic bread. Luncheon with it. So we'd love to have anybody come and play with us. It's a lot of fun.
you have to know how to play the euchre.
You do have to know how to play. That's the one caveat. The one caveat.
You don't have to play well.
You know, you don't have to play well. I just want your money.
So I'll email that out to the club. The
Awesome.
details. Thank you. Just a couple other announcements. I sent out an email yesterday about Mossport this weekend. The schedule has changed slightly. Bear with Rebecca and myself. Basically, there's going to be 2 shifts instead of 3, so starting a little bit later, finishing earlier. So it's good changes. But hold tight on that. When I know more from Rebecca, I'll let you know. Probably later today. There's a Rib Fest meeting tonight for those on the committee or those that are interested. Steve, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Paul Harris Fellow, if you haven't signed up for the award ceremony next week on the 25th, let Pauline know. Is it too late, Pauline? Are we telling her?
That's okay.
Yes.
Very little food anyway.
Oh, yeah. Does anyone else have any announcements that they need, that they would like to announce? Okay, Chris, that's your quote of the week.
Okay. Oh, this is bad. Easy for me, yeah. So my quote this week is from Mahatma Gandhi, one of my favorites actually. Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony.
All right, if there's nothing for the left of the good of Rotary.
Something like that. Those are all the right words.
I don't know if we're in the right order. Okay, class dismissed.
Great job. Well done, Rachel.